Chapter 1. Sociology, the discipline. Modernity and social change in Europe and the emergence of sociology. Curious human mind had a desire to know more about its social surroundings since time immemorial, but such thoughts were systematized in form of a discipline only a few centuries back in first half of 19th century only. Renaissance gave birth to ideology of modernism and it led to dawn of modernity. Old beliefs were liberally questioned and rationality emerged as new religion. Rousseau, Montesquieu etc. talked of modern political ideas while likes of Adam Smith, Ricardo and J.S. Mill talked of new economic order. All these had a common thread, rationality of human thoughts. Further, new order started to replace the old order and it created considerable social upheaval and disturbance in society. In this background emerged earliest sociological thoughts and minds of likes of Hegel, Comte and Spencer. They were mainly Western but with global consequences. The distinct way of studying society can be better understood if we look back historically at the intellectual ideas, material context and political development within which sociology was born and later grew. These are broadly classified as 1. Intellectual ideas. The Enlightenment, as a European intellectual movement of the late 17th and 18th centuries led by Montesquieu and Rousseau, emphasized reason and individualism. It had a great influence on the emergence of sociology, though an indirect one. As Irving Zeitlin puts it in his Ideology and the Development of Sociological Theory, 1996, early sociology developed as a reaction to the Enlightenment. Early sociology has been a mix of Enlightenment and counter-Enlightenment ideas. As the Enlightenment thesis put individuals at center stage, on the other hand, for counter-Enlightenment proponents, society was the most important unit of analysis. On the other hand, Enlightenment ideas of rationalism, empiricism, and change orientation also affected early sociological thought. Darwin's ideas about organic evolution were another dominant influence on early sociological thought. Similarly, ideas of Newton also led to development of natural sciences which affected sociological thought as well. Thinkers of the early modern era were convinced that progress in knowledge of society on lines of natural sciences promised the solution to all social ills. For example, Auguste Comte, the French scholar, considered to be the founder of sociology, believed that sociology would contribute to the welfare of humanity. According to T.B. Bottomore, main intellectual streams that particularly influenced the emergence of sociology are political philosophy given by likes of Montesquieu, Rousseau etc., philosophy of history, theory of organic evolution given by Darwin, movements for social and political reform like French Revolution and development of method of social survey. Alexis de Tocqueville, Claude Saint-Simon, Auguste Comte, disciple of Saint-Simon, Spencer and especially Émile Durkheim became the face of French sociology with their seminal formative work. Comte was the first to use the term sociology and he believed that study of sociology would be scientific. He developed his scientific view, positivism, or positive philosophy. Comte developed social physics initially what in 1839 he called as sociology. 2. Material and social developments. Material developments are understood in form of arrival of industrial revolution and growth of capitalism. Modernity and industrial revolution gave birth to factory system of production, led to emergence of middle class and dismantling of feudal estates. These developments not only had certain positive outcomes, they also had many negative fallouts as well. In economic sphere, though there were cities earlier also, the industrial cities gave birth to a completely new kind of urban world. It was marked by the soot and grime of factories, by overcrowded slums of the new industrial working class, degradation of labor, bad sanitation and general squalor and new forms of poverty. Workers were forced to work in dehumanizing conditions under new factory system. New forms of crime including petty thefts also emerged. In social sphere, nuclear family emerged. It led to issues of increased incidence of domestic violence, breakups, etc. Middle class also emerged as a new structural class and led to new cleavages in society. 3. Political developments. Biggest event that affected emergence of discipline was French Revolution, which itself was influenced by Enlightenment philosophy. It led to replacement of old feudal system with a new one. Ideals of democracy, liberty and fraternity became new watchwords. But they didn't come easily and the old system resisted stiffly. A tussle between the old and new ensued, which created a condition of great uncertainty. It prompted intellectuals, especially Comte, Saint-Simon and Durkheim, to search for new answers to restore stability in the society. Thus, modernity had impact on social, economic and political lives of people. Initially, modernity was seen positive, but its negative fallout soon became too apparent. Modernity posed challenges which led to growth of new intellectual ideas. The questions which were posed were not answered by hitherto existing disciplines, and a new science of society was sought, and what emerged was known as sociology. Due to its specific context of origin, it was also argued that sociology was the science of the new industrial society. Thus, Western sociology emerged as an attempt to make sense of modernity. Although a general context was present throughout Europe, but an immediate context for the rise of sociology was present in France with its unique socio-political situation. The upheaval that the French Revolution created served as the immediate context for the emergence of the discipline. Intellectuals like Saint-Simon, Auguste Comte, Spencer and Durkheim provided the early ideas which laid the formal foundation of the discipline. They made a bid to understand the cause of these new events and their consequences for society. Simon called the new discipline as social physics, and it was Comte who called it sociology for the first time. Spencer followed the footsteps of Comte and gave idea of social evolution similar to biological evolution. Efforts of Durkheim led to establishment of sociology as first department in France and Europe. Thus, despite a general impetus being present in Europe, sociology emerged as a distinct discipline in France. The young discipline required a subject matter, facts, perspectives, and methods. Popularity of natural sciences influenced the new discipline in these aspects. New methods were explored which were scientific and rational. State of Poor report was the first scientific survey which came up in Europe, and it highlighted that poverty is not natural, but a social phenomenon. Factual base was provided by the pre-existing historical records. Early perspectives were provided by Comte, Spencer and Durkheim. Durkheim's contribution among these proved pioneering, and his evolutionary view of sociology became one of the founding thoughts of the nascent discipline. Scope of the subject of sociology. Sociology is a systematic study of society, and it studies human society as an interconnected whole and how society and the individual interact with each other. A sociologist is interested in the general study of social behavior of groups, large or small, and lays special emphasis upon an understanding of social life in its everyday form. General study also implies that other social science disciplines deal with more specific areas, while sociology takes a broad view. Sociology seeks to study the society and to analyze it in terms of the social relations that have a pattern. Sociology seeks to explore how and why societies emerge, persist, and then change. In brief, its scope includes study of social groups, social institutions, and social processes. The scope of sociological study is extremely wide. It can focus its analysis of interactions between individuals such as that of a shopkeeper with a customer, between two friends or family members. Going further, it may analyze national issues and international issues as well. So, what defines the discipline of sociology and its scope is therefore not just what it studies, I family or trade unions or villages, but how it studies a chosen field. Scope of sociology is more in direction of analysis of social problems and social systems and not in normative suggestion of solutions for these social problems. This has been interpreted differently by different scholars and some view scope as in form of social action, others view it in form of social facts. Early sociologists had two prime concerns, a scientific analysis of society and lay the principles of social evolution. According to Durkheim, scope of sociologists is to study social facts in society. Social facts should be studied in similar way as natural scientists study things. According to Radcliffe Brown, who adopted an anthropological functional approach, the subject matter lies in structures or patterns of social interrelations which can be studied by field work. According to Marx, the scope of sociology is to study the dynamics of forces and relations of production. Weber, on the other hand, defines scope of sociology in terms of the study of social action. Parsons defines scope of sociology as study of action systems. Hence, scope of sociology was defined by different scholars differently during different times. During the evolutionary phases of the discipline, sociologists tried to understand society in terms of macro units like religion, and impact of natural sciences was apparent. Comte divided scope of sociology as social statics or stability and social dynamics or change. Later on, Herbert Spencer put an evolutionary perspective and termed society an organism and widened its scope. After 1880s, sociology was established in various departments in Europe. First such department was established by Durkheim in France. This led to wide academic discourse in a systematic manner and scope was expanded. Durkheim divided scope as social morphology, social physiology and general sociology. Max Weber soon introduced micro-view in sociology. During this period, there were two predominant schools, micro or formal school and macro or synthetic school. Formal school considered scope as limited and emphasized more on understanding rather than predicting. It aimed, according to Max Weber, on interpretative understanding of the society. Macro school aimed at studying society in totality. Apparent failure of European working class to overthrow capitalism, rise of Nazism and fascism, corruption within Soviet and its allies posed great dilemma over relevance of Marxian theories. It led to development of neo-Marxists, which also includes Frankfurt School or critical school led by Horkheimer and Adorno, who tried to include a cultural perspective into Marxist thoughts, and they also included cultural studies also in the scope of sociology. Later, starting from 1940s, new ideas emerged and micro and macro views were combined. For example, Talcott Parsons combined the study of social action and social system in sociology. Similarly, Merton combined psychological and structural aspects of society, which is best exemplified in his theory of anomie. American sociological traditions felt threatened by Marxist ideology and they instead turned to Weber, Simmel and Durkheim. Hence, they saw the scope of sociology more on functionalist lines. Feminist sociology emerged during 1960s as a radical alternative and offered distinctive gender-based explanations. It emphasizes centrality of gender in social change. According to them, social reality is viewed differently by the two sexes. Jacques Derrida and Michel Foucault laid foundation of post-structuralism. Foucault analyzed the emergence of modern institutions like prisons, hospitals, and schools as a sign of increasing surveillance and discipline in society. More recently, postmodernists have further expanded the scope and have tried to make it interdisciplinary as well. New issues like health, aging, demographic issues, cybernetics, and information technology are also coming under the scope of sociology. Sociology has grown more interdisciplinary than ever, widening its scope in a never before manner. According to French author Jean Baudrillard, mass media has reversed the Marxist idea that society is dominated by economic structure. Rather, it will be now increasingly controlled by the signs and images which are a creation of mass media. Sociology and other social sciences. Sociology and economics. Economics is the study of production in society. Sociology studies all aspects of society. Economics, according to Alfred Marshall, investigates how man earns and spends money. An economic activity is also a social activity, and production involves social relations as well. Methods of earning money are also guided by social norms and values. Theft and robbery can never be legitimate means of earning money. Consumption behavior is also affected by social and cultural values. One extreme position has been adopted by Marxists. According to them, the understanding of the superstructure consisting of various social institutions can never be complete unless seen in the context of economic substructure. Thus, economic behavior of man is viewed as a key to understand social behavior of man, or economics is given precedence over sociology. Durkheim rejected a classical economist theory of division of labor and offered a sociological explanation. He tried to give social explanations a priority over economic explanations, and according to him, at macro level, economic activities happen in an autonomous manner. In recent times, there are many studies like those of Strachey, Galbraith, Gunnar Myrdal, and Raymond Aron which are used in both the disciplines. A branch of sociology called economic sociology deals with the social aspects of economic life. Other emerging concepts like gender budgeting, feminist economies, etc., are also emerging to address emerging social relations. Thus, sociology and economics meet in a number of areas of knowledge. The factors that contributed for this convergence are two. Economists are no longer interested only in market mechanism but also in economic growth, national product and national income, and also development in underdeveloped regions. In all these areas, the economist has either to necessarily collaborate with the sociologist or he himself has to become a sociologist. Economists increasingly use sociological research to formulate new theories and policies, and sociologists, on the other hand, study the impact of such theories. According to Pierre Bourdieu, a true economic science would look at all the costs of the economy, not only at the costs that corporations are concerned with, but also at crimes, suicides, and so on. So, economic calculations can never leave social calculations. Further, sociology learns a lot from economics, which offers precise terminologies. Yet economists' predictive abilities often suffer precisely because of their neglect of individual behavior, cultural norms, and institutional resistance which sociologists study. Sociology and psychology. Psychology is often defined as the science of behavior, and sociology is the science of society. Sociology studies the social systems while psychology studies mental systems. On the relation between the two disciplines, there are two extreme views. J. S. Mill sought to establish the primacy of psychology over all other social sciences and believed that all laws are derived from the laws of mind. Durkheim, on the other hand, made a radical distinction between the phenomena studied by sociology and psychology respectively. His study of suicide even tended to ignore psychological disposition while taking into account social phenomenon. Most sociologists, however, have adopted various intermediate positions. According to Ginsburg, many sociological generalizations can be more firmly established by being related to general psychological laws. German scholars like Weber came to believe that sociological explanations can be further enriched if an attempt is made to understand social behavior in terms of underlying meanings. Some attempts have been made to bring them together. One of the most valuable works is of Goethe and Mills. According to them, the study of social psychology is interplay between individual character and social structure, as human behavior is not purely driven by instincts. Social psychology serves as a bridge between psychology and sociology, maintains a primary interest in the individual but concerns itself with the way in which the individual behaves in social groups, collectively with other individuals. Sociology and history. History and sociology have a very close relation. According to G. E. Howard, history is past sociology, sociology is present history. Philosophy and history are considered as the mother of all social sciences. Karl Marx and Durkheim pioneered use of historical data in their sociological discourse. Karl Marx's historical materialism is pivoted around historical evolution of modes of productions. Weber's Protestant Ethic and Spirit of Capitalism also uses a historical particular ideal type, and Pithram Sorokin's Social and Cultural Dynamics also makes ample use of historical inferences. However, there are certain differences between the two disciplines as well. The interaction between two disciplines can be found in their subject matter. The subject matter of sociology and history overlap to a considerable extent. The historian frequently provides the material which sociologist uses. With the help of history, sociology can get crucial information about past. According to Radcliffe Brown, sociology is nomothetic, while history is idiographic. The historian describes unique events, while the sociologist derives generalizations. But nowadays, history is not only concerned with which and what events, but also how of events. This emphasis on cause and effect has brought the two disciplines closer. The line for demarcation between history and sociology is becoming increasingly blurred, as history is also no longer purely descriptive. Sociology and political science. The two distinct disciplines of social science, sociology and political sciences, do converge often, as the subject matter is men and the convergence is on the increase. A beginning was made with the works of Marx. According to him, political institutions and behavior are closely linked with the economic system and social classes. Provoked by this thinking, some thinkers by the end of the 19th century pursued the matter in more detail, like studies of political parties, elite, voting behavior, bureaucracy, and political ideologies, as in the political sociology of Michels, Marx, Weber, and Pareto. Another development occurred in America known as behavioral approach to political phenomena. This was initiated by the University of Chicago in the 1930s. Political science provides laws which affect welfare of masses. Sociology provides data and basis of these laws and policies. Social considerations like caste, kinships, demography, etc. play an important role in political decisions and especially elections. The forces at work and the changes that are taking place in peasant, tribal or caste societies belong more to the sphere of sociologists and anthropologists rather than to that of the political scientist. Sociological studies have also been conducted in membership of political organizations, voting behavior, casteism, process of decision-making in organizations, sociological reasons for support of political parties, the role of gender in politics, etc., which involves a blend of political science and sociological thinking. Social policies of government often rely on sociological studies. Political system also affects social institutions. As we cannot choose who our parents will be, we cannot choose what nationality we will have. Organization of family is also impacted by political system. China once strictly enforced to children norm and Indian government also tries to influence family through family planning, population policy and so on. American state promotes values of openness and freedom in family. Pakistan on the other hand also advocates religious code. There is a renewal of interest in Marxist sociological ideas among political scientists because of revolutions in developing countries, Jasmine Revolution, Arab Spring. Sociology and anthropology. Sociology and anthropology had quite different origins. While the Western intellectuals of sociology had a ready context closer to home when modernism, French Revolution and industrialization arrived, on the other hand, anthropologists have to discover their own. Anthropology also borrows from prehistoric archaeology. Classical Western notions of these two disciplines view sociology as study of industrialized society, while anthropology as study of primitive society. However, today the distinction between industrialized and others have blurred and this definition is also not applicable in a plural society like India where this other is found every next door according to Srinivas. In the earlier periods of their growth, the two disciplines grew up in close cooperation with each other in terms of the concepts used, areas of interest and their methods of study as can be seen in the works of founders which cannot easily be assigned exclusively to either one of the disciplines. The early convergence was followed by a period of extreme divergence in terms of their universe of study, areas of interest, methods of study and even the concepts employed. In spite of the obvious differences between the two in the 19th century, as stated above, there has been a good deal of convergence in modern times. Both anthropology and sociology study the same subject matter, i.e., man. Time and cultural elements are the only aspects that separate them. The small units of study which the social anthropologists require are fast disappearing. Placed in such a situation, both the social anthropologists and sociologists are concerned with the process of economic growth and social changes. Both the disciplines are equally useful in studying the African and Asian societies which are changing under the impact of the West. It is no longer the prerogative of sociologists to study advanced societies. The works of Talcott Parsons and R. K. Merton are attempts towards an adaptation of functionalist approach to study industrial societies, and William White has adopted participant observation for the study of modern industrial society. Thus, the disciplines are increasingly merging into each other. Sociology and common sense. Oxford Dictionary of Sociology defines common sense as routine knowledge that people have of their everyday world and activities. The common sense explanations are generally based on what may be called naturalistic and/or individualistic explanation based on taken for granted knowledge. Sociology has its tryst with common sense since long time, and it has been accused of being no more than common sense right from its birth. The problem is not that common sense knowledge is necessarily false, but that it is unexamined and taken for granted. For this prime reason, sociology is distinguished from common sense on various grounds. 1. Common sense generally takes cues from what appears on surface. Sociology, on the other hand, looks for interconnections and root causes which may not be apparent. A sociologist works like a skeptic, and sociology as a science of organized skepticism, looking beyond what meets the eye. Explanations for religion, suicide by Durkheim are best examples of such sociological outlook. While religion says God created man, Durkheim said man creates God religion. According to Peter Berger, The fascination of sociology lies in the fact that its perspective makes us see in a new light the very world in which we have lived our lives. 2. Sociology uses reason and logic. Common sense uses conjectures and stereotypical beliefs. Common sense views are often based upon images that get reinforced through tradition. Sociological knowledge, on the other hand, challenges these traditions and stereotypes. While traditional social role of women is explained through explanations like biological factors, ritual sense, etc., sociology affords us a different view that such roles may have other bases like patriarchy. Further, sociology is not bound by single perspective. 3. Common sense is based upon assumptions, and sociology is based on evidence. Sociological knowledge is based upon thorough research, and the resulting outcomes may be contrary to the common sense. 4. Empirical testing has no place in common sense knowledge, while sociological research may have empirical orientation. Common sense knowledge is often individualistic and naturalistic. 5. Sociological knowledge is objective, common sense is intuitive. Common sense knowledge on same subject may also not coherent. For example, birds of a feather flock together and opposites attract are sayings which convey opposite meanings. 6. Sociological knowledge results into generalization and even theory building. Common sense knowledge, on the other hand, may be very personal, and two persons may draw different conclusions of the same event based on their own common sense. 7. Sociological knowledge is change-oriented, while common sense promotes status quoism. 8. Common sense is unreflective since it does not question its own origins, while sociological knowledge is subjected to unending debates and discourse. 9. Sociology has a body of concepts, methods and data, no matter how loosely coordinated, but common sense is more or less based out of personal judgments. Poverty, from a commonsensical point of view, is viewed as a result of indolent behavior, while a sociologist may view it in terms of structural inequalities and disabilities. Thus, like every stargazer is not an astronomer, every commonsensical observation about society is not a sociological observation. So, it is a way of looking at things which distinguishes sociology and common sense. However, there are a few similarities and complementarities between the two also. Firstly, concepts in sociology are framed by taking into consideration commonsensical knowledge. Common sense helps sociologists in hypothesis building. Secondly, common sense provides raw material for sociological investigations. Sociology tends to answer questions generated from common sense knowledge. For example, common sense views on gender are widely studied in sociology. Common sense also helps sociology by challenging its conclusions and thereby enriching the discipline. According to Anthony Giddens, sociological knowledge also itself becomes part of common sense knowledge sometimes. For example, sociological research into marital breakdown has led people to believe that marriage is a risky proposition. Till about 17th century, common sense and science were not seen in mutually exclusive terms. This belief was strengthened by likes of Moray and Reid, who argued that common sense and science are together used to expand man's understanding of truth. However, as scientific method gained momentum in social sciences, method was seen as imperative in any social investigation. Durkheim outrightly rejected the role of common sense in sociological analysis, and he termed it as deceptive, unrealistic, untestified, and speculative. According to him, common sense perceptions are prejudices which can mar the scientific study of social world. Marxists, on the other hand, consider it as ideological with limited understanding of the world. However, scientific method in sociology is outrightly rejected by phenomenologists like Peter Berger, Thomas Luckman, Alfred Schutz, etc. Postmodernists also claim that sociological knowledge is no superior than common sense, as there is no such thing as complete gospel, and sociological principles are equally uncertain as common sense. Thus, sociologists' perception towards common sense changed over time as the discipline evolved. Earlier, when it was close to philosophy, common sense was seen as complementary. When discipline moved closer to positivism, common sense was almost discarded. Anti-positivists, on the other hand, again tried to give importance to common sense. So, relationship between the two is dynamic and even mutually reinforcing at times.